Hey everybody, Motorpoet 59 here. I'm talking a little bit about the lack of motivation in the real world by the younger millennials and the Gen Zers. Uh, these kids are, it's like they're rudderless. And it's really not their fault, it's the fault of the parents. If you are a parent who isn't teaching your kids that it is important to do real things and enjoy real things and get off their cell phone, get off their laptop, get off their computer, wherever, whatever get off social media for a while. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with social media, or I wouldn't be doing these things, but it shouldn't be their focus. It shouldn't be their life. And it is for so many kids today. And what really brought that into focus, and I've been thinking about it for a while, but what's really brought it into focus today for me was playing in this golf tournament here at Royal Grande. What I saw out there today were a whole bunch of people between the ages of 40 and 80. The three guys I played with today on the group I played with, I'm 63. The other three guys, all between the ages 75 and 79. And there are a lot of those guys out there. What I didn't see out there were any young people. And when I say young, I'm talking about between the ages of, say, 20 and 40. I shouldn't say I didn't see any. There was people, I don't know how old they were. They didn't look very old, but a couple of them. I saw a couple of couples that looked pretty young out there playing. But those golf courses should be filled with kids. I didn't start playing golf till 2015, and at that time there were still quite a few young people playing, and that's just kind of dwindled. And I think it has a lot to do with all the social media that is available to all of us today, but particularly to the younger crowd who don't seem to have any motivation to do anything, whether it's entertaining themselves by playing golf or things like that, things they can go enjoy themselves physically doing, or becoming productive members of society. We, as a nation, over the last 20 years or so, have been teaching our kids that it's okay for them to be non-productive because the government will take care of them. And we're not teaching them to take care of themselves. We're not teaching them to take care of the future generations. I have three daughters. I have stepdaughters too, but my three daughters are the ones that I raised. When I divorced their mother, I had two marriages with those, one daughter from the first marriage, two from the second marriage. And when those marriages didn't work out, I ended up with custody of the kids. And I taught them a good work ethic. I taught them to have fun, enjoy themselves, think for themselves. One of them is because she's the oldest, she's becoming more conservative the older she gets. The other two, not so much, but that's okay. They're not nutcases, well, not all the time, but that's how I taught them to be independent minded, be an independent thinker, and be responsible for yourself. Don't count on somebody else to take care of you. The government or a man or another woman, however things work out for you, be your own person and enjoy yourself. Work hard, but enjoy yourself too. Enjoy life. And I just don't see that in the younger generation. Now, my kids, my youngest will be 27 next month. My middle one will be 29. My oldest in October will be 40. Wow. But they are all productive members of society. They're well balanced. I don't agree with things they do all the time, but that's all right. They don't agree with things I do, and that's okay. But I taught them the importance of reality. And granted, they grew up in a little different time, especially my older daughter. And they grew up before we were just inundated with social media and the internet. And we've always had video games, and that's where one of the points of my modern kids not being engaged is because they don't want to do anything. They don't want to work. They don't want to go out and play. You don't see them on the golf courses. You see the younger kids coming up through school football programs and stuff, but most of those kids will not enjoy those sports into adulthood. But it just bothers me when I see these kids just not engaging. If they're not engaging even in play, they're not going to engage in work. They're not going to become productive members of society without being prodded along the way, kicked in the butt and shaken around. Someone's going to almost have to force them to do it. And if you're one of those parents who are raising your kids that way to count on somebody else, whether that somebody else is the government or another human being, you're doing them a great disservice. And it's not going to help them. If you're one of those parents who doesn't discipline your kids, and I'm not talking about beating them or spanking them with belts or any of that stuff. I'm not even talking about swatting them on the ass. You really don't need to do that. You just need to let your kids know you're in charge and that they're not. And I see so many examples of households today where the kids are actually the ones in charge and the parents are so afraid that they're going to piss their kids off that they won't even force them to do the things they're supposed to be doing as kids, chores, things like that. And people say, oh, kids aren't your slaves. I'm not talking about that. I never felt like I was a slave to my parents, but by God, when they told me to do something, I didn't argue with them. I just did it. And that is what kids need. That's why I was such a good employee. And I was a very good employee. I made a deal with my employers when I went to work for the railroad. I'll do my job to the best of my ability, and you pay me. That's the only. I hear people that are working for the railroad. Oh, they don't pat me on the head. They don't treat me well. They make me do this. They make me do that. You know what? They give you a paycheck, and the checks don't bounce. Stop complaining. But that's what parents are teaching kids to do today. They're teaching them to whine and complain and count on other people, and they're not causing them to be engaged in reality. And they're on TikTok, and they're on Facebook, and they're on YouTube, and they're playing video games, vile video games. But even if they're great, even if they're golf video games, they're not out playing golf. They're not engaging themselves in reality. And a kid sitting in their bedroom, engaged in a game, an online game with 20 other people, that's not engaging in reality. That is not the same thing. Who knows where sports are headed? I'm sure there are plenty of people out there who don't think sports are important, but you're wrong. They are. Is it wrong? I mean, should you teach your kid to be completely wrapped up in a sport? No, not unless they want to be completely wrapped up in it. But no, you shouldn't, but you should teach them. You know what? When your kids are little, our parents used to throw us out of the house at 8 or 9 in the morning in the summertime and tell us essentially, don't come back until it's dinner time. Go out and play. Go play tag. Go play Army. Go play Cowboys and Indians. Whatever we used to play. And that's what we did. And I learned to enjoy physical exercise, playing outside, playing in the heat. And I don't know. I guess I'm rambling on again. I tend to do that when I get frustrated about things, and I'm really frustrated about what I see where the younger American kids are going. I can't speak to other countries. I will say this. One of the things I respect about Indian families, and I'm talking about Indians, not Native Americans, about the kids from India, the families from India, and Asian families, is that those kids are motivated, and their parents do not allow them to sit around and be unmotivated. They are expected to do something with their lives, and most of these kids have lofty goals. They're going to be doctors. They're going to be attorneys. They're going to do things that are going to be profitable, and they're going to do things that are going to help their families and themselves and provide for their futures. And there are just so many kids I see today who the future is something they don't consider. And that is very disheartening. What do you think about that? Are you one of these parents who doesn't think you ought to talk to your kids, try to get them to do things? You're okay with your kids sitting around, or are you like me? And I'm not saying kids shouldn't play video games or mess with social media. I do it, and my kids all do it, but they balance that out. Are you one of the parents that thinks that's the way things need to go? Let me know in the comments below. Shoot me an email at motorpoet59@gmail.com. Like, share, subscribe, click on the bell if you want to be notified of future content. We'll see you all later.